right, good evening. I'd like to call this meeting of the Parks and Rec Commission to order. First, I'd like to welcome everybody here at the first of the new year, so I hope everybody had a wonderful new year. So I know a few commission members are probably still traveling due to the weather, but grateful to kind of kick off and get started, and hope everybody is safe and staying warm at this time of year. We'll proceed to item number 2 on the agenda. So of the approval of the October 27th minutes, as well as December 13th minutes. So hope everybody had a chance to review those. And is there a motion to approve the minutes as recorded?
I move.
Okay.
Move to approve minutes.
Is there a second?
A second.
All right. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? All right. For public comment of any items not on the agenda, I don't think there's any at this time, so we'll good evening. You must be Virginia. All right. All right. How's it going, Aaron? Thank you for joining us this evening. Thanks, Aaron. We just got started here, and so we're on to item number 4 on the agenda, so which is the welcome of the newest member. So perfect timing, Virginia.
4 items in 1 minute?
Yeah. Like to run a tight ship here, that's right. So just welcome, Virginia, and maybe we could go around and do some brief introductions. I know in the past we've done favorite park, or most recently attended park. I guess we could also talk about any of the other rec programs, try to branch out a little bit. So either park or programming that you've recently participated in. So maybe we'll start over here with Aaron as well.
My name is Aaron. I just recently visited Benton Street Park today. The trees in that forest area are absolutely beautiful with the snow. So I thought I'd take a little walk during my lunch break.
Perfect, love it.
I'm Missy Forbes, and my favorite Parks and Rec program is obviously the Farmers Market.
Wonderful, that's great. Yeah, I can go next. So Alex Hackman, the park I visited most recently was Terry Trueblood, so I just love getting out to Terry Trueblood.
I'm Connie Moore, and the program I participated in last was coil basket making.
Ooh.
And I made a basket, and I was like this big, and it took me an hour and a half. And my thread broke, and I had to start another thread. It was super frustrating, but I did it, and
It's great.
yeah, it was fun. I recommend doing some of those rogue,
Yeah.
or not rogue, but you know, arts and
Standalone,
crafts.
yeah.
I'm not arts and craftsy, and I know for sure I'm not, but I'm gonna do ceramics next.
It's great.
Do you want me to do more of an introduction?
Yeah, that'd be great.
Okay. I am Virginia Hayes. Thank you for having me. I'm an arborist. I work at Sustainable Landscape Solutions. We're currently in snow removal purgatory right now. I apologize for being late.
Oh, you're good.
My favorite park is North Market Square. Spent a
that's
lot
great.
of time there with my kids when they were little.
It's great. Thank you, and welcome to Commission. We're glad that you're here.
Happy to be here.
All right, Brian?
I'm Brian Morelli. Last park I was at was, I went over to Hickory Hill last night with my snowshoes and hopped around the park, and it was absolutely beautiful.
It's great.
I'm Alex Stanton. Most recent park I visited was actually North Market Square because my daughter goes to Man, and so a lot of days after we pick her up, she wants to go over there for like an hour. So we're there probably 3 or 4 days a week. So
Great.
yeah, nice.
Awesome, appreciate it, and love hearing about kind of the activities that people are participating in the parks. It's great to hear all that the Commission is taking advantage of and what the city has to offer. All right, so we'll proceed on to item 4B of the election of officers. It is the beginning of the new year, and this is the time where we elect chair as well as vice chair. And so are there any recommendations for a chair at this time? Does anybody have a desire to take over in my stead?
I'll nominate Alex to be chair and Connie to be vice chair.
Well, I had a speech.
Any other nominations at this time? Okay, so I guess,
I'll say that for next time.
yeah, so I guess we recommend myself as chair and then Connie as vice chair. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, thank you for your confidence in both Connie and myself and serving in this capacity, and grateful for the opportunity to do so.
Great chair.
All right, we'll proceed on to item C under item 4 of distribution of correspondence. So, yeah, I don't know if you want to give some details about that.
Yeah. So I'll give some details on this. So what we're going to be looking for tonight is to learn a little bit more about what your preference will be to receive correspondence from the public on items not pertaining to the agenda. So with the agenda packet that you receive, any items that we receive as correspondence from the public would still be included in that. We're looking to kind of revert back to earlier practices that we had where non-agenda public correspondence is not included in the agenda item, but provided to you through a manner which you prefer. So kind of a little bit of history here. So towards the start of 2023, it became more commonplace for us to include correspondence from the public to the commission in the agenda packets. If it arrived in time, it was included in the agenda packet. If it didn't arrive in time after the agenda packet had been sent, we had been providing printouts of that and distributing that at the commission meeting. A lot of the items kind of in that time frame, start of 2023, was pertaining to the recreation master plan, and facility operations was a lot of the public comment that we were receiving at that time, so that was being included in that agenda packet. But staff's been notified that this practice of agenda packet distribution must revert back to something that's more akin to the processes that City Council follows. In which case, City Council receives public correspondence to Council in the agenda packet, but they receive any items not related to the agenda separately. So that's what we're looking for tonight, is kind of finding out a little bit more about your preference for how you want to receive those items not related to the agenda. Kind of in full disclosure, and just in case there's any concern, any items that you do receive, whether it's through email or provided as a handout, everything's compiled at the end of the month after our commission meeting. And Gabe sends that off to the city clerk's office. The city clerk publishes everything that is received that you see. So even though it's not in the agenda packet per se that's sent out, all of that information is accessible by the public. And so I want to just kind of clarify where that can be found. So the file path for that is at icgov.org. So there's a tab that says Government, and if you click on that and click Public Documents, and then the city clerk's office folder, in the Parks and Recreation Board folder within that contains all of the agenda and additional items that were received that commission has seen. So even though it's not necessarily in the agenda packet, the public can still access that information after the meeting. So you all would have access to that as well as the public too. So since we're no longer able to provide non-agenda public correspondence in the agenda packet, there's a few options for you to consider tonight. So one would be for an email to the commission, basically bundling all the public correspondence that's received in that month and sending that out as a separate email aside from the agenda packet. So you would receive 2 emails essentially. You would receive the agenda packet in one, and you would receive kind of the bundled public comment in another. We could also email you each time that we do receive public correspondence to the commission. So that could be several emails within the course of a month, depending on how much public correspondence we receive. We could also continue to do the printed handouts like you received today for any items that's received from the public. So I'm opening that up for your discussion, kind of talk about what your preference would be there.
Any open questions as it relates to that, or recommendations for ways that we'd like to receive correspondence.
So just to clarify, the public comment and those documents, those would be emailed like at the end of the month, whereas our agenda packets are emailed to us like the day before a meeting.
I'm sorry, they would be emailed to you at the same time.
Okay.
So you would receive your agenda packet in one email, and then you would receive all public correspondence not related to any agenda items in a separate email at that same time.
Got it. Okay.
Yep.
I think that sounds like a nice option, just so we can read through those, and if there's something we want to bring to the commission meeting, then we have it, it's fresh on our mind.
Yep.
So I would say the 2 separate emails seems sufficient to me.
Okay.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, we value the public's, comments as it relates to items, and definitely want to make sure that we have the chance. I'm afraid if we singled them out as separate emails, some might get lost. So I think having those compiled makes sense as well. So I'm seeing a lot of head nods there. Is it the recommendation of the commission to then send out the 2 emails, one with the agenda packet with the correspondence, and then a separate one with the public comment not related to items on the agenda? Do I have a motion to approve said recommendation?
A motion to approve that.
Okay. Second?
Second.
All right. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. Thank you. Item 4D are requests for 2024 agenda items. So have a few here as well, but want to open it up first for the commission for different thoughts of what we'd like to discuss or review throughout the course of this year.
I would love to do like a park tour. I know that when I first started, it was talked about that it had been done in the past, and I think that we kind of have been caught up with some other, public issues and stuff like that. But I think if there's a way that we could fit something like that in, that would be cool.
Yep.
I just have like minor things about, like, I don't know if it's just like suggestions or questions or
Yeah,
agenda
go for it.
items. Okay. Just some things that people had talked to me about was just wondering about, there was a difference in water quality. They felt, there's another guy here that works at CRWC, difference in water quality between CRWC and RAL, and wondering like, is there a different formula for like chlorine or something? Just feeling like it was just such a difference, so much more higher quality at CRWC as far as the water goes. I don't even know if that's a thing. So just looking at that, if that's a thing. College Green, as they're going forward and redoing that, had a request for a full court for basketball rather than a half that they currently have. And as we're redoing College Green, maybe that's something we could do. Another sand volleyball pit at City Park. Because there's, in the summer, often people are waiting to play. And then I'd heard this splash pad more on the, east, north side. And then Virginia and Alex were talking about the North Market Square. I'm like, oh, that would be a good place for a splash pad maybe. Or something on this side, maybe water related.
That's great. Other items for 2024 is what we're talking about, Rachel. So just future agenda items. Yeah, Aaron?
I know that we had some issues earlier this year with the dog parks and those deposit boxes being broken into and all that. I do not know if this has already happened, but the potential for moving those deposits and everything fully online and making it not only more convenient but more secure for dog park, attendees and for the city to collect that money.
It's already happened. Like they have like a, like your park app.
Yeah.
So there's a QR code, so you can do it online.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Okay. So
Yeah.
then, my question would be more so, do we look to go fully online moving forward and get rid of the deposit boxes, or do the deposit boxes stay? Because some, might not be as technologically inclined as others, or do we go fully online in 2024?
Okay. That's great.
And this is not like our only chance for the year.
No, no, not at all. So just the fresh start here is a good time in review. So go for it, Rachel.
I'm sorry, the roads were bad. I was coming from Chicago, but I'll watch the video later so I can hear everyone else's ideas, contributions. Let's see. I just wondered in general about the possibility of increasing staffing at both rec center facilities. I heard from a friend, her mother goes every day swimming, and there's some, so, well, that's a separate problem. But anyway, there was an issue with some throw up in the women's dressing room, and it was there for hours. And anyway, it seemed like it was a staffing situation instead of a, so something like that to maybe avoid those things. And then she was also mentioning that the hours were kind of inconsistent when she could swim because of a lot of meets there that just happen at the last minute that aren't on the schedule, and she's vigilant about checking the schedule, and so wanted to bring that concern here. I don't have ideas, but just something to mention. And then finally, I mentioned this last year, but I would love it if we could all consider how to make women's swim possible here at the R. Ely Rec Center. A couple of women in the Muslim community have come to me and asked for that, and they say they'd be more inclined to learn swim safety that way. And since one of our focuses is try to get people of color, specifically African Americans or African descent, to become more familiar with water safety, it seems like it would be in line with our interests to focus on that. And I think also the staffing element would help make that happen.
That's great.
Thanks.
Thank you.
One thing I wouldn't mind talking about is at like smaller parks, like potential of possibly like a porta potty or something that's to be available at those. Just so like the two parks I go to the most are North Market Square and Reno Street, which are very small parks, but like Reno Street is right next to a daycare that my kids use, and so everybody at the end of the day comes running out there and they're playing there for a couple hours. Invariably, inevitably, one of them has to go to the bathroom, and so then they're like either trying to sprint back to the school before it closes, or more often than not, they're running over to a tree and peeing on the tree. And then also at that park particularly, there are a lot of birthday parties for the families that go to that daycare, and other families too, not just our daycare, but so those smaller parks, especially ones that have like birthday parties, what are the restroom facilities for them?
So some other items that I had jotted down as well. So the park tours are great, and especially since we have a lot of new commission members, it's a great way to get out and see. So I had park tours. Also thought about kind of just building tours and seeing some of the other buildings and city buildings that way would be beneficial just to understand. I also jotted down, would love to understand or take a deep dive about accessibility. So just to making sure that a lot of our facilities and parks from an accessibility standpoint, I know we've dove individually on some of those, but taking a more broader view about accessibility would be great to hear and understand kind of the efforts and also kind of what are in the plans from a long-term standpoint. I also jotted down kind of what sustainability efforts as it relates to not only the broader kind of Iowa City plans that way, but how the parks, I think, are uniquely positioned that way as well. And then I also jotted down, it's great always, I know in the past we've heard about different grants that and the city has received, or the Parks and Rec Department has received. So both kind of grants and awards, and just try to understand that process a little bit better is something that I'd love to learn more about. So, and just ways that if we could encourage more of the community as well, if there's things that we can do to help foster or build support for some of those efforts, that would be great as well. So those were some additional ones, but it was great to hear kind of the feedback and other suggestions from the broader commission. So thank you for whether they be small items or large items. So appreciate those pieces of input. So any other potential items for 2024? All right. With that, we'll move on to item number 5. So reports from city staff, and we'll turn it over to Brad.
Okay. So Recreation Division hasn't been having quite as busy of a week as Parks and Forestry has, so Tyler will be able to update you here in a minute on all the happenings there, because we actually closed our facility a little early yesterday at 4 o'clock to allow staff to be able to get home before it got dark out. And just with the storm the way it was, we canceled programs yesterday as well. We'll see what happens this weekend, but it's always interesting during the winter. Kind of makes things challenging, but we also love to be able to offer a lot of different programs and opportunities for people that still have the need to get out of their own house and go somewhere and go do some different things. So we've been kind of in full mode hiring lately. As you met Kaylee last month, she's been getting familiar with her aquatics recreation program supervisor position. And this week we've been doing interviews to fill her role, since she was promoted to the recreation assistant position. And then we also have put out an offer last week and got acceptance of the special events and communications program supervisor position. So that person will be joining us at the start of February. So we're excited to be able to have a full staff again and kind of be able to move into 2024 with that. One of the things that I wanted to update you all on is City Park Pool. So kind of where we're at in that process right now is, as you know, in the fall, we completed a lot of our public input, at least for the first round. And our consultants have been busy at work. Right now, they're working on concept designs that we believe will be shared with us. We're anticipating next week, so with staff, should clarify that. And then we're also kind of finalizing the statistically valid survey that's going to be going out to the public as well. And the public at large will have an opportunity to chime in on that, but initially it will be sent out with the concept designs, the statistically valid survey to the public. We'll be running some campaigns to encourage people that it is legitimate and that it is something that we want everybody's feedback on. And hope to get input that way as we continue on the process with kind of figuring out what is going to be the best outdoor swimming pool for the community. So by next month, we'll probably be chatting a little bit more and have a little bit more to share about what those concepts are and what that process is looking like.
Great. Tyler.
So I'll start with on Martin Luther King Jr. Day, as part of the same time as the event over at Mercer, we're having an open house for the skate park pump track design process. So encourage any of you to attend that. We do have another evening time as well. The morning one's 9:30 to 11:30 in the P&G room over at Mercer, and the evening one is same location from 5 until 6. So hopefully we get a large cross section of the public to be able to join us for one of those. It's not one of those where we can just send a postcard out to the area surrounding the park that, neighborhood parks tend to draw people from just one part of the city. This draws people from all over the city. So we've done some targeted outreach to some of the skating community that we know and that contact us fairly regularly, and then they're pretty good about sending out to their networks as well. So, and we've also sent it out to the bike shops around, because the pump track will be a nice amenity for bikes too. So hopefully the word's getting out there for that. Please all share that out there as well. That will be design process this year, install in 2025. So we've got a little bit of time with it, but it gives us a longer time to get the design just right for that. Other projects coming up next year, we'll have those processes kick off here sometime this winter yet. We don't yet have a firm date for those public inputs, but maybe by the next meeting we'll know more. Hiring's also another trend for us. So with our within parks, we had Ryan Kurtaska moved from Parks Maintenance Worker 1 to Maintenance Worker 1 and Athletic Fields. So he'll be shifting over for us, filling that role. So that leaves his role open, and that's currently posted online for applications. We also filled our Assistant Superintendent of Parks, and Alex Lorak will be starting in that role in 2 weeks. So he currently works in Neighborhood Development Services Department, and he had worked for us in forestry prior to that. So we're kind of welcoming him back to the Parks and Rec family with that. So he'll be starting soon. And then we also would have been end of last week, I think it was, all of our seasonal positions for Parks and Forestry went live on the website for applications. So we'll be really digging into those soon. We do a day where we go up to Kirkwood to the Parks and Rec and the horticulture programs and do a job fair up there. And then it also gets put out to all the other locations where the city kind of puts out the info. So we've already seen some applications from some returners as well as some new employees, potential employees. So happy about that. We'll hire 60 or so, maybe up to 65 throughout the whole season. Not all of those will be on at once ever, but we have a fairly high need for a lot of staff. Not as many as rec, but but still pretty high need. I guess the other main topics on everyone's mind, snow first off. A lot of snow. We've gotten most of our areas taken care of. We do have one piece of equipment down, and then we pulled half the crew to work on trees today. So there are some spots, if you hear from neighbors, or if you're especially on the east side where we had some equipment down, we weren't able to get all of our areas plowed yet, but we'll be hitting those again in the morning, and we'll have trees for a while. If you all noticed on your way here, I'm sure you noticed at least one tree that was pretty heavily impacted, probably quite a few. Anything that still had leaves, so mostly oaks. Anything that was an evergreen, and anything that had a lot of fruits. So a lot of crab apples, a lot of oaks, a lot of spruce and pine. They just hold more of that weight, and then the wind and everything else they just can't handle that. So in the close to 9 years I've been here, this is our second worst. So of course derecho was worse, but it's 100 plus that we've been notified of. I'm sure people have taken care of some others on their own. We'll find more as we go. We lucked out in Upper City with the pool fence. There's one, that big old oak that landed right parallel to the fence. So we lucked out there, and I have not seen one on a house yet, which is a good thing, and only a few small limbs on one car that I knew of. So as far as safety and structures and everything else, I think we've lucked out so far. There are still hazards out there though, and we're getting to them as quick as we can. And we've got a contractor working on some. If they're power line related, Mid-Am has been doing a really good job of helping with those and getting those taken care of. So it's been kind of a team effort. The streets crew with their plows, kind of handy. They're already in some of those areas. Smaller branches got pushed off the roads, things like that. But we've got a lot of sidewalk obstructions still out there. I think those are my main things. Any questions, comments about any of that?
Do you all know if there will be pickup of, like, sometimes after storms they do, where the city will pick up branches that have fallen in people's yards or tree limbs? Good
question. I have not coordinated any of that with our resource management crew yet, a different department and whatnot. It's going to be challenging this time. If you remember derecho, it was a quick storm. It was real nice out. Everyone was tired of being cooped up in the house anyway at that point in the pandemic. So, and it was easier to pile stuff. Now, a lot of the stuff that we've been able to get off to the side is going to be covered with more snow at the end of this week. So Maybe in the spring, there could be a larger thing. We'll get as much as we can throughout the winter, but I would imagine there'll still be spots with some limbs for quite some time. It's kind of the worst case scenario for a snow type event for trees. We did pull our crews last night at dark for their safety. So there were a few streets that had some blockages overnight, but we had to balance that safety of crews with everything else. So I believe the roads are open now. I can't guarantee every alley's open or sidewalks are all good, but yeah, there's definitely going to be some cleanup of branches moving forward. Good question. Yeah.
Kind of along those same lines, I know my neighbors have been asking, we had a lot of limbs come down. Could there be any kind of communication from the city about what residents should do with their limbs? Because we, like you said, we kind of drag stuff out to the curb, but it's already covered, and so is it just going to stay there till spring, or I guess whatever if there's any kind of guidance there, it'd be helpful.
No, that's a good question. I can talk to the communications department and see if they want to put out some sort of messaging on any of that. They may. We did put out messaging yesterday, mid-afternoon, about using the GovExpress service request system to get us those addresses and whatnot, and that's been super successful. I've got probably 75 through that at least. I do get some questions from time to time, and you brought up a good point about if it's a private tree, but it's across the sidewalk or into a street. We try to get to those, especially if they're in the street. Then sidewalks, but we're gonna most of the time get our city trees first. With this number of them anyway. So if you have people ask you questions, neighbors ask you questions, really if it's their tree, it's their responsibility. We'll try to get it off the sidewalk, but we're not going to be working extensively in a private tree except for getting it to a safe standard for anything in the rights of way, and sidewalk and street included. So good question. I just had one of those questions before the meeting tonight, so it's always a good one to remember. Anything else?
I know that there's a 24-hour kind of rule in place in regards to people's sidewalks and all that.
Mm-hmm.
With more snow coming, is there like a rollover or anything like that on time?
Yeah.
Asking for a friend.
Good question.
I want to clear my drive.
I know a press release went out today from Housing Inspection that said to clear them. So usually when that press release comes out, that means that the storm's done for sure, and you should have it by 24 hours. I would say if there's a limb precariously over your sidewalk, there can be exceptions of not having the sidewalk clear for things like that because, there's other obstructions. And I wouldn't want anyone working under trees that are broken and hazards anyway. But I think in general, this storm is done. So, but a lot of times new storms come within that 24 hours. So I guess you'd be covered then if one started 24 hours from, I guess, early this morning. So, yep.
I missed
Good
it.
question.
Did you say a website or something where people can report city trees or
Mm-hmm.
branches that are precarious?
Yeah, so the GovExpress website, you can get to it from the city's webpage. I think there's a spot on the main homepage of the website now that maybe it's a report of concern or something like that, the wording is. I think it's on one of the tabs, but that goes for anything throughout the year. It doesn't have to just be trees. It can be, almost anything. We get requests quite frequently through that. So, yeah, and it's easier to find now, I think, than on the old website. Good questions. Thank you all.
All right. Yeah, thank you, Brad. Thank you, Tyler. Just appreciate all that you do and your staff to keep our streets clean, as well as provide some great programming. So thank you for those updates. I don't have anything from a chair's report, and so we can now kind of go around and start with Aaron over here. Any items as well?
I don't think I have any at the time.
Okay.
I was just wondering what Freeze Fest entails?
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's going to be on Sunday, February 4th. It's going to be over at Terry Trueblood. And it's a lot of indoor, outdoor activities, but, hopefully the weather is great. And we get outside to do a lot of different winter activities, winter hikes. Our Joyce Carroll, our program supervisor of STEAM programming, arts programming, nature education, she leads that event every year. And a lot of different fun activities that they'll have out there. And it's a free event, so check it out.
Yeah, I also recommend it. I've done it in the past with my family and enjoyed it a lot. So, yeah.
Lots of variety.
Yep. Anything missing? Maybe we'll start on the end with Alex. Brian?
Nothing.
Virginia? Calvin? All right. And with that, we'll adjourn this meeting. Thank you, everybody, for being here, and hope everybody drives home safely and stays warm. Thank you.